When you work in Word, you may find that even if you have a very simple, plain document, that you would like to add just a few fancy touches, maybe a page border or a watermark, or even a background color. Well, you can do that with a page background group. So we're going to look at that today. Hi, I'm Terry, one of the Consumer Technology Specialists for Mid-Continent Public Library. And let's get started with those 3 really helpful buttons. Looking at our example document, we realize that we need to put in a watermark for this particular document because we're really not ready to just distribute it and make copies of it yet. So we really want to add a watermark that will get people's attention. To create a watermark, we need to come over to the Design tab. Now, that's about the 4th tab here on the ribbon. And when we click on it, it takes us to a part of the ribbon that really concentrates on how your document is looking. So we can see as we go from left to right that you can add in some themes. Those have to do with the font and the color schemes, that kind of thing. Then we have document formatting. And this does a lot of the job for you, where it influences your heading styles, the fonts that you use, even whether the text is centered or left aligned. A whole lot of things like that that are just basic formatting, but they're all pre-programmed for you. And then to the right of that, it even works a little bit more individually where you have more choice, but it again influences colors and fonts and paragraph spacing, just general formatting. On the right, we have one other group, which is page background, and it has 3 buttons: watermark, page color, and page borders, that as you have the need, you can very easily add in those special effects by simply a click of your mouse. So let's start with the watermark button and see how it can work for us. Now you'll notice that it has a drop down. So I'm going to click on the drop down part of that button, and look at this. It has some watermarks ready to go for us. So first there's confidential here that is on a diagonal as opposed to confidential that is horizontal. And then we have do not copy, also diagonal, or do not copy horizontal. And you would simply click on one of those and it would be added to your document. So let's do one. Let's do not copy. Let's select that and click on it. And now as I scroll down a little bit in my document, there it is. That is just so easy, isn't it? Now, at some point, this document may be complete and it's ready for distribution. Well, at that point, I want to remove the watermark. So how do I do that? I go back up to the watermark button, click the drop down, and down at the bottom, our last choice here is remove watermark. And I click on that, and the watermark is gone. Couldn't be easier, could it? Well, let's look at some of those other choices then in our watermark button. Besides the default already supplied watermarks that we see here, we could come down and maybe choose some more watermarks that are available from office.com, but I think a lot of people really like the idea of creating a custom watermark. So let's click on that, and when we look at this dialog box, we can see that we have 2 choices. We can add in a picture watermark, or we can add in a text watermark. Well, let's go with picture watermark first. And our first choice here is to select the picture. And we have in this dialog box some different ways to get to the picture. So if the file is on your computer, you would choose this. If you decide that you want to go out and do a Bing search, which opens up Creative Commons so that you know that you won't have an issue with copyright, for example, then you could do a Bing search, or you could go to your OneDrive if you've stored the picture there. We'll just go with this Bing image search. And we are going to type in building and press enter. And it has all sorts of buildings here that we might want. And I'm going to select this one and click insert. And then we can simply, once we look at this, say, okay, well, what's the scale? Right now it's automatic. And you know what, it seemed a little small to me, so let's make it like 200%, see what happens. And then on the right, generally you want those pictures washed out so that there's just a hint of the picture behind the text, because you still want people to be able to read the text. And then coming down, we have two choices. We can either apply or say OK. Generally, when you click on OK, that sets in the picture and closes the dialog box, whereas with apply, it will add in the picture, but it would let you also add in something else if you wanted to do that. And the OK is grayed out. We're going to click on OK. It's hard to tell what that is. And at 200%, maybe that was too much. So I could certainly go back to my watermark, go back to my custom watermark, and it's at 200%. Well, let's make it 100%. I'm still going to look at the washout though, and again click OK. And at least I can kind of tell what that is. I might even decide to make it smaller. Let me do that one more time. Watermark, custom watermark. Instead of 100%, let's make it 50%. And I'm going to take off washout just so you can see the difference. We'll click OK. And see, then it's almost a little too dark. So you need to work on how you want to work with the watermark, but that gives you a general idea of what you might do. I think I'm going to go back and at least make it a washout and click OK. And that's not bad, but obviously with an image you need to do a little bit of work. Let's go back to watermark, and we want to remove the watermark that is there, and then let's go back to watermark, go to custom watermark, and this time let's come down to text watermark. We have a choice of different languages, and we even have a choice of different text than what we saw in the examples. So we have ASAP, confidential, copy, do not copy, draft, original, personal, sample, top secret, urgent. Or we can simply say, nope, I want to do my own. We could say something like waiting for final approval, which is a lot of words for a watermark, but maybe that's what we want to do. We can change the font if we want to do that, although I'll just keep the regular one here. Now the size is automatically adjusted for what you've typed, but you can make it bigger or smaller. The color, you can make it kind of this gray, light gray, or I've seen a lot of these a little bit darker than what that is. You can make it semi-transparent or not. And what is the layout? Is it diagonal or is it horizontal? I might make mine diagonal this time, and again then I have the choice of apply or OK. I'm just going to click OK. It has adjusted the font size so that it works just fine with being on the diagonal on my document, waiting for final approval. And when people print this, then it will also show up. Let me go to File and Print, and it shows up even better there. But a watermark can be a really great help. It really gets their attention and can help you as you try to communicate with other people. As you look at your document, you decide that you would like to have the whole thing a different color rather than just the usual copy paper white. Now, you always need to consider how much this is going to affect the color printing on your printer. But let's say that you have brand new ink and you're all ready to go, and you realize you don't have time to go to the store to get that color, or maybe it's just one page that you want to have a color background. Then you could certainly go to Page Background and then to Page Color and click that drop down. And you get a gallery of colors that is very similar to the font color choices, for example. And so you might decide to choose, well, not a dark color, but let's say a really light color here. And you decide that you would like to print not only your document with this text, but also with this kind of light background. There's a chance that the background color, even though you've applied it, won't print. So let me show you. If I go to File and Print and look at the print preview, I still have just a white page. So how can I fix this so that I can get the background that I want? Well, to do that, in my case, I need to go to More and then Options, and then under Display, I have Printing Options. And right now, that second choice, Print Background Colors and Images, is not turned on. If I click that checkbox and then click OK and go back to File and Print, now I have the green background that I wanted. Well, I'm going to go back now, and on the right, I can also add in page borders. So let's click that. And with page borders, we have all sorts of choices here. We could add in just a fine line. We could add in dots and dashes. We can add in double and triple and all sorts of different kinds of arrangements of borders. So let me just click on one here. On the right, I get an example of how that might look. But let's say I want to turn off the bottom border. All I do is click on it to turn it off. If I decide then that I want to turn it back on, well, then I can click on that part of the preview and it'll turn it back on. Notice also that on the bottom right it says Whole Document. I have some choices here. So I could add a border to the pages that are only in this section, or the first page only, or this section, I'll accept the first page. So we have a lot of options here when we want to add in these page borders. As I come down from choosing that border, I can also add in some color. So I could add in a dark green, for example. And it shows me now that the width is 3 point, but I could make it even 6 point if I want to do that. And then I can click OK. Well, and that's just kind of effective, isn't it? So certainly that is something that we might want to consider. Now, there was also another choice here, so I'm going to undo for a second. And we're going to go back to page borders, because we could also, instead of using the lines and the styles at the top, we can come down to the bottom to Art and click the drop down here. And there are choices here that are pre-made that we could add in as well. So, well, let's just go with these little stars. They're fairly plain. I could add in the width, but sometimes with pictures it makes them way too big. So you kind of want to watch that. And it may even change the shape of the picture a little bit. But let's click on OK. And so now I have those stars that go around the page. For a poster, for example, or some really fancy one-page document, a border with a picture might be precisely what you are looking for. To learn even more, be sure to go to mymcpl.org/online learning for such great resources as Universal Class, LinkedIn Learning, Learning Express Library, and Udemy Business. We also premiere new videos every Wednesday and Friday at 1 o'clock. If you miss a video premiere, you'll still be able to find it later when it's convenient for you. You can find us on Facebook at MCPL 360, and you can find us on YouTube by going to our MCPL MO channel.